How's it going, everybody? As most of you know, or as most of you may not know, that's why you're here. CCNP version 2 has come. So, as part of Cisco's try to stay with the most current and up-to-date material, and probably because of the fact that the CCIE version 5 just came out and was refreshed, and so was CCNA about within the last year, I think it was. Cisco has revamped their CCNP, and I'm going to walk you through some of the things you should be aware of for that new change, and kind of give you an overview as to what you can see here, and then from there I'll show you the topology we're going to be seeing when I redo the CCNP as I'm going through my CCIE studies. So EIGRP, OSPF, redistribution, BGP, frame relay, things like that. So as you can see, these are the new exam numbers. We have 300, 101, oddly enough, starter audit. We have 300, 115 for switch, and 300, 135 for T-shoot. So I was honestly thinking they were going to do like 101, 102, and 103, but however Cisco decides to do it. Now, last day to test is obviously January 29, 2015, which is 6 months from today. So you have 6 months, which is the same amount of time us CCIE candidates actually get to prepare for a blueprint change and things like that. So pretty cool in everything that I think of. So a lot of what we're going to do is we are going to be talking about some of the updates and stuff like that, and I'll run you through just a couple of them just so you guys can have an idea what we're going to be doing. And then towards the end, I will show you the topology and ideas of how you should be going about doing it and stuff like that. Now, with each one of these exams, we're going to scroll down here just to take a look at, learn more about each one of these guys so you guys have an idea as to what's going on. So it is going to take, oh, this is a learning locator. Yeah, we don't want that. So let's scroll back up here. Let's go close those guys out. We'll go here, here, and here. So 300, 101. So exam topics. You're actually getting, it's going to be a longer test, more questions. Before it was 45 to 55 questions, now you're 45 to 65. And if you've paid attention to CCIE, this is pretty much the exact same format as what you have seen in the past with their blueprint outline for CCIE. So obviously, network principles and stuff like that. We'll be covering these. We'll run through how all this stuff works. It's not quite as bad as some other stuff that you might have seen, but I would recommend downloading the exam details in PDF format. I will do that as well as we're going through. I'll actually put this into a PDF document, and we'll be doing that, using that as our guideline. So I'll follow the blueprint and teach off the blueprint. Now, obviously, with route, you're not going to have a whole lot on layer 2 technologies. My guess is they're going to have just some PPP and explain frame relay. We're actually going to demonstrate it, do point-to-point with frame relay, and then we'll do multi-point frame relay. What I'm guessing what they mean by point-to-point frame relay might be back-to-back frame relay, where you actually disable the keep alive. But the I haven't dealt with frame relay in a little while, but obviously we're going to be talking about PAP and CHAP with PPP, and then PPPoE. I'll show you guys how to configure that. It's actually very, very simple. And then we'll do point-to-point over frame relay. So we'll do PPP over frame relay. Show you guys how that works with the virtual interfaces and stuff like that. And then some of the layer 3 technologies. They are going to touch on DMVPN in here, single hub, but you're only going to be asked to describe it. And quite honestly, DMVPN is actually very, very simple. It's just it's a newer, enhanced way for you to run your network without having to have the provider do anything for you. So it's an overlay technology. So we'll talk about that in a lot more detail, especially with that easy virtual networking. And the infrastructure security, which I'm guessing is what they mean by that, is going to be AAA and things like that. And then we'll talk about infrastructure services. Some of the stuff you need to be worried about with like NAT or NAT64, and then NAT protocol translation version 6, and then IPSLA with ICMP, and some of the different things you can do with. For instance, you can do policy routing, which that's one thing I don't see in here is policy routing. I could be mistaken here. Let's go to layer 3 technology. That's one thing I don't see is policy routing. Default protocols. Oh, yep, right here, policy-based routing. So we'll talk about policy-based routing and things like that. So that'll be something good for you guys to see how everything comes together. So configure and verify Vrrp version 2. And then we'll talk about EIGRP load balancing, OSPF, the different multi-point types and things like that. Pretty straightforward. We'll talk about eBGP, and then we'll talk about all the stuff you can do with active and passive peer groups, and then BGP with the different address families. And it gets kind of convoluted and complicated when you start talking about BGP with IPv6 and things like that, and private AS numbers and the attributes and the best path selection. So that's what we had to look forward to with the route exam. Now, switch exam is going to be just a bit different, and obviously there's going to be a heavy influence on layer 2 technologies, obviously. And here we're going to be talking a lot, and it's actually, they make it pretty cut and dry. So we'll talk about the SDM, which is Switch Database Manager, and how you can choose which way to route, and if you want to enable policy routing on your device, you can do that. Different ways of managing the MAC address table. We'll talk about CDP, which is Cisco Discovery Protocol, and the Link Layer Discovery Protocol, so the open standard CDP. Different types of VLANs, VTP, VTP version 3, VTP pruning. We'll talk about ether channeling and bonding connections together. Spanning tree and all of its coolness. We'll talk about SPAN and RSPAN, which is switch port analyzer. And then we'll talk about StackWise, what they call chassis virtualization and aggregation. So VSS for the 6500 and 6800 series chassis. And then we'll also talk about StackWise, where you can actually physically connect a cable between two 3750s and stack them together, so you can make two switches look like one switch. And then obviously we'll have the infrastructure security. So we'll talk about all the layer 2 technologies that you can use for that. So DCP snooping, dynamic ARP inspection or DAI, storm control, private VLANs, and then we'll talk about radius and stuff like that, and local privilege authorization fallback. And then infrastructure services, this is where we'll get into our first hop redundancy protocols. Only in the newest code for iOS 15 can you run Vrrp, and it can only be run on IPv4, where with, and that's only on the very newest switches, so like your 3560, 3750, things like that. I don't believe the switches I'm running have that capability. I'll take a look, though, just to be double check. HSRP is supported, but we will be testing HSRP, VRRP, and GLBP in routing, not switching, because only HSRP is supported. I'll talk about how GLBP, it's gateway load balancing, so you're able to use different MAC addresses and route to both exit interfaces instead of just one, things like that. Now that's switch. Then we're going to jump over to T-Shoot and click the exam topics. And there is a topology out here, if you're familiar with the way that this works. If you scroll up here and you have the T-Shoot demo item, I'll expand that so you guys can see what that looks like. So basically what you're going to come through, you're going to have network principles. So basically what's going to end up happening in the exam is you're going to get, they say 15 to 25 questions. Well, that doesn't mean 15 to 25 individual questions. When I took my T-Shoot exam, I got, it was 3 or 4 multiple choice questions where, it's like, is this equal to that? And they'll give you the whatever the correct answers are. And the rest of it was on the command line trying to figure out what the problems were. And then there was 3 stages. It was identify what the problem is, identify the device that it's happening on, and then identify what you would do to fix it. And we'll talk about debug and conditional debug and ping and trace with extended options and how you can see if it's asymmetric routing is an issue, things like that. And then we'll take care of that. And then obviously they have the layer 2 technology, so we'll have to troubleshoot all of this stuff. And I'll show you, as we're going through, I'll show you the correct way to do stuff, and then I will, when I finish up switch, you'll see how that actually comes into play. So that's what you guys have to look forward to. It's actually not that complicated when you think about it because of the fact of what it's offering. So infrastructure security and services, 5% of the thing. So that's actually, I'm very, very happy that Cisco breaks it down this way nowadays, because back when I took my CCNP 8 months ago and passed it, a lot of the stuff they didn't break this down, so you really had no idea how much of the exam was going to be that. Like maybe 10% was in total was that. So a lot of the stuff you're going to have to troubleshoot is going to be specific to that. I don't think they're going to be troubleshooting. Yeah, they're going to have to troubleshoot GRE. A GRE is really, really easy to troubleshoot. And I'll show you how to do that. I'll actually break it for you, and I'll show you how to fix it. It's very, very simple. So that's what you have there. And then we have the T-Shoot demo item. Now, T-Shoot demo item, basically what this is you get, this is the user interface you will see in the exam. However, the tickets are different. You'll get 13 tickets rather than 4 tickets. And in these tickets, I won't give you any answers or lead you in the right direction. But basically, what you're going to do is you're going to be given a ticket, and what it's going to do is this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to be given, a particular scenario, and then what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to say, okay, which device is the condition located. So you'll have to pick, let's say it's on router 3. Then you click on next question. It's like, well, what technology is the fault related to? And so you'll click on interface status. Maybe the port is shut down. And then you click on next. And then you'll say, what would you do to fix that problem? And then you'd be able to click on, so here you click on this guy, you click done, and then it's going to tell you you've completed this, and this is what you got. So you have answered 1 out of 4 questions for this ticket correctly. Whop, bam, boom, there you go. And then you click close. And then you move on to your next ticket. Once you've completed a ticket, you cannot go back to it. And the way that, and I don't really care, when we actually go through the actual T-Shoot section, I will cover this. But you'll have scenarios. This is your scenario. And then you'll have your topology. And your topology will be this. This is the layer 2 and 3 topology. So you're going to have all your frame relay connections. You'll have your SPI trunks and stuff like that. You're going to have a distribution layer switch, and you're going to have an access layer switch. And you'll have a VLAN that everything will be attached to, an uplink between the two, and then you'll have distribution, and then it'll go up the way from there. Layer 3 is going to be like this. You're going to have, and this is not how it is in the actual exam. It's completely different. So don't study this to pass the test. Just study it so you know where things are at. Now, and in my honest opinion, the way that the things are actually in the exam are different from what they are here. So don't get used to seeing where the DHCP server sits or where this or that sits, because it will not be like that in the exam. So this is just giving you an idea of what's going on. If you notice here, I don't see a lot of IPv6. I don't see any IPv6 at all. So ticket 2, they're going to tell you, this is the problem. So what you're going to end up doing in the exam, you actually get the PCs. So what you'll do is you click abort, click OK, and then what you'll go to is you'll go to the layer 2 topology, and you'll be able to click on this guy, and it gives you the command prompt. And essentially what you're able to do is you're able to do a ping, and an address. So if you ping the address, I always started as far out as I could, and I worked my way back. If I couldn't ping, say between let's see, what do we have here? Routers 2 and 3, or 2 and 3. I knew the problem had to be somewhere in that area. So if you can ping to this area, then that's cool. So those are going to be certain things you're going to be able to look at. But that's pretty much where you have that. I don't really care about being right or wrong. I will when we actually go through the exam, I'll work through that. But they've obviously changed some things. They must be updating it because the IPv4 layer 3 topology is different, because before it had IPv6 in here, IPv6 was overlaid, and they actually had a GRE tunnel configured between routers 3 and 4. So, but that's the T-Shoot demo, so just so you guys have an idea. So now what I'm going to show you is the actual topology we're going to use for, let me get back to where I was at here. And so this is the topology we're going to be using for our CCNP. Now, if you're familiar with any of my videos or anything like that, I've already got CCNP material already put out. So there's already stuff already out there. You can totally use that. That's going to be totally usable. I'm just going to redo it to be a bit more concise and not as... I think some of the videos are a little convoluted and long. I'm going to shorten them up. They're going to be more specific and stuff like that, because I don't really have the time right now to sit there and go through them, because of the fact that I'm actively studying for my CCIE. But basically what you have over here, you have EIGRP AS100 and BGP 7893. That's going to be what you're going to do here. We're going to have OSPF area 0 here. We're going to have area 1 over here, and then we're going to have an external domain sitting over here. We will have frame relay in the middle. That'll be our underlay technology, which is the actual physical media, or the cable, modem, DSL, whatever the case might be, that you'll see going across the wire. And then we'll actually deploy DMVPN, and we'll make this guy right here will be the server, and these guys will be the spokes. Even though it's the same location, these will be the spokes. Now, what I'm doing here in this example here is I've actually got this set up to where this is like this is an HQ for a company, and then we use frame relay, and then we happen to be, you know, over here we have, you know, a mixed vendor environment, if you will. So this guy's going to be, you know, say like corporate office. So corporate office 1 or whatever. And then what is going to end up happening from there is the way that I had this broken down is for OSPF has different network types that it can work with, and depending on the network type will determine how OSPF is implemented and how it will actually do its SPF, how it will run SPF and form the shortest path tree. So this is going to be corporate office. This right here, I have it set up in such a way to where this guy will be an ABR. And what we'll end up doing is we'll see different routes being advertised in. And what we're going to be able to do is this guy will be, say, for instance, a branch office. And this guy over here will be maybe a remote data center or something like that. So the idea and benefit to all this is you're going to be able to see type 1 through 5 and 7 LSAs coming in for OSPF. And I will explain what each one of those are, how to read the database, how the state machine works for OSPF, how the state machine works for EIGRP, break that down so you guys will have a solid understanding of how that works. And then when it comes time for path selection with the EIGRP, I will actually configure, I'll actually put point-to-point connections between R7 and R6 and 3. What that will allow us to do is use unequal cost load balancing, and I will demonstrate it that way. We'll see how everything will come to work with that. We will be running BGP across these links right here. And the reason why I'm keeping the BGP pretty simple is because you don't want to get it too convoluted. So like for instance, let's say for instance we have PPP is being bonded between two links or whatever. We want to make sure that we are able to use path selection appropriately. So let's say for instance that, you know, these two routers go down for whatever reason. Doesn't really make a difference. It does happen in the real life. You need to account for it in your labbing. So let's say for instance now that you know, let's say users attached to this switch over here are actually going across the WAN out the branch office and going out this way. So you're able to use OSPF to redirect traffic this direction and then send it out this way. So you would have to have BGP peerings with this HQ. And let's say these are geographically different locations. So these are one of those things where you need to understand how stuff works. We will talk about BGP, talk about the peerings, the peer groups, things like that. I don't know how deep we'll go. Well, I will probably touch on like confederations and route reflection and stuff like that, but realistically speaking, there's not going to be a whole lot we're going to have to really worry about. Route reflection for sure. We'll talk about that. Confederations, that's more of a service provider technique, but I'll go into some detail on how that works and maybe lab it up and explain how it actually works. But anything advanced that you guys are interested in seeing, maybe you're you're already familiar with BGP and you want to take it to the next level, through the CCIE, we'll definitely be covering all of that, which I'm in the process of actually studying for and labbing up and deploying videos for that actively. So that's what you have to look forward to. This will be a Gns3 Lab, so I will upload the .NET file to Google Drive, and then I will advertise the Google Drive link out once these are done. And as I finish sections to each part of the exam, I will upload them so you guys can stay ahead of the curve. Now switch is going. Now this is all route. Switch will be done similarly, where what I'll do with switch is I'm actually going to do like what I do for CCIE, is I'm going to take 4 switches, plug them together, and I will. This actually what I'll do is when I do this and I'm drawing the lines between them. These are the actual interconnections between each switch. Is we'll talk about everything you need to know for switch. We'll talk about spanning tree and all the flavors of it, what you can do with it, and all the type of stuff that goes along with it. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll get into the services and security and stuff like that, and private VLANs. I've got a couple of routers hooked up into these switches, so I'll actually be able to hook up a couple of routers, and we'll go to town with that. We'll see how you plug in something and how it'll fail over and get how you DHCP for something and not get something for something else, stuff like that. So we'll cover all that in Switch, and then T-Shoot, I will actually take the exam, the topology that was actually in the exam. I will lab that up, and then I will, or actually no, I won't do that. What I'll do is I will take a topology and for EIGRP specific stuff, so both IPv4 and IPv6, and I will break things, and I'll have a series of tickets for each section. And then what I'll do is I will walk you through how to troubleshoot those. Same thing with OSPF, same thing with BGP, GRE, anything layer 2 and layer 3 that has anything to do with that services security, we'll troubleshoot how to fix it. Because once you have a solid understanding of how stuff works, troubleshooting it won't be very difficult, because then you'll be able to say, okay, what are the 3 or 4 steps that I need to know to get OSPF up and running? Then from there, I'll be able to troubleshoot OSPF. So EIGRP is going to be a much simpler topic scope because of the fact that there's not as much to deal with EIGRP as there is OSPF. So we'll take a look at that though, but so you guys have an understanding of how that all works and gets worked out and stuff like that. So if you have any questions or concerns or like to get a hold of me, my email address is rrikeer82@yahoo.com. That's the fastest, easiest way to get a hold of me. I'll send whatever files you guys need. If I'm a little slow on getting files out to people, I do apologize. I'm actively studying, and for those of you that are watching this video, if you go to, actually let me do this. I'm on my other monitor here. Let me go to YouTube real quick and pull something up so you guys can see what's going on here. And I'll go to my channel, pull it up real quick, and I got a lot going on in the background. So we're going to go to the written, and then I'm going to go, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull back up this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share the other screen, and here we go, start screen share. So basically, if you're looking at this, let's actually move this to the other screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So if you guys are right here on this screen, so this is CCIE. If you come to my channel, then you click on the CCIE version 5 written download. Click right here. I'm going to expand this over to here to this guy so you guys can see this. That's going to open up this Dropbox account. Then if you come over to this Dropbox account, right here is the OneNote file. So if you click on this guy, I don't know if it's going to let me do this or not. Yeah, I can download it. I think I already have it installed. Let me see real quick. I'm on my OneNote. Yeah, right here, version 5. One second while I pull this up, guys. Cancel that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring, oh, yep. This is actually running on a virtual machine somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over just so you guys can see this real quick. 1 second while I start the screen share over again into OneNote. Start screen share. All right, so this is the OneNote file. So for everybody that has asked for the OneNote file, this is what you get when I send it to you. So what you're going to want to do, and don't worry about the product activation fail. I had to re-image my computer the other day. I haven't had a chance to activate anything. This is the written topics. So everything I've covered inside of everything else, this is what you're going to get. So this is what you're going to have, and this is what the breakdown is going to be. So if you're not getting this, there's something wrong with the way that you downloaded the file. I can resend it to you, but this is everything that I have set up. So Ceph concepts, this is what you get. TCP operations, this is what you get. iOS troubleshooting tools, this is what you get. So Layer 2 multicast, I spent a little bit of time going through this stuff, but it's one of those things where it's a central location for note-taking. I would definitely recommend downloading this file under CCIE version 5 written topics. This is where all the stuff sits. So if you're really interested in knowing a lot about OSPF, I've gone through the entire configuration guide. This is everything you need to know for doing whatever you need to in OSPF. So we click up there, click up here, and I've been pretty specific. I mean, you can break it down as far as you'd like, but LSA behavior and how LSAs work and timers and the flooding and stuff like that. I'm going through all of this. So this is going to be a complete package once you guys download it and stuff like that. It's a couple meg file. I mean, it's not going to be very complicated to get down at all. But this is just what you guys have to look forward to. So that's that. And let me start the screen share back over to that again. And so move that back over. So as you can see, this is what we have to look forward to. If you have any questions, do feel free to give me a shout. I'm more than happy to answer questions, stuff like that. And go from there. I won't be doing a whole lot of live stuff much more from here. I just wanted to kick out a quick video on CCNP version 2 and the updates for that, so you guys are well aware of what's going on and stuff like that. So other than that, feel free to drop me a line anytime you'd like. I hope this has been informative for you. I want to thank you for viewing.